They say you live on a sheep farm in Buckinghamshire. That's
Yeah.
right, isn't it? But have you ever come across poultry in any way? Have you ever had any chickens, ducks, geese, turkeys on the farm?
We've got emus. Does that count?
I saw you've got emus. Yeah, kind of. No, really.
Kind of. We'll let it.
And what are the emus called?
Oh God, I don't know. My mum actually named them because they're an Australian native bird, and she just looked up like classic Australian names, so they're just real wacky. But I'm just in the process of me and Jesse changing their names to nicer names, easier names.
Cool, nice, love it. Okay, great. So I guess first off, you got this book out, which is hugely exciting for you, I'm sure. But your journey started on TikTok, and I think I was probably one of the early followers of you
Woo!
in those pandemic days when we all needed cheering up. Former young farmer myself, so that was the kind of thing I was looking for on social media in order to do that. But how did your journey begin? I mean, TikTok is one of those things that sometimes just takes off. I'm guessing that's what happened, but just kind of describe a bit how that journey started for you.
Um, yeah, so like you said, it happened during the pandemic of how I guess my social media career started. So first of all, I used to post videos to my friends on Snapchat, WhatsApp, just real chilled out. Do you know what I mean? Just real chilled out of look what I'm doing on the farm. Literally like 10 seconds long. And then I actually recorded myself on Snapchat. I obviously saved these videos, so they saved to my camera roll of me lambing a sheep. And one of my friends, after watching it, obviously was like, "Oh my god, that's horrifying." But then they were like, one of them said you should post this on TikTok, and I was like, I don't know, wasn't really on TikTok, wasn't really using it. And after kind of like questioning it a couple of days, I just whacked it up, and it went viral, like, and people loved it. Like honestly, the amount of people in the comments who were just like absolutely in awe and amazed by what was happening. And it kind of made me, that later that night when I posted it and just read through the comments, I kind of came to the conclusion that there's a real niche. I was like, people are absolutely loving it. And it was during lambing time. So I had all the content in the world. And then just carried on posting from that point. Obviously, probably if you look back when I first started to now, it's probably a bit cringy. My explanations aren't that brilliant, but yeah, that's kind of like how it all happened and got the ball, moving. And I think as a farmer as well, I was probably one of the first. I think that's why it done really, really well as well as a farmer, because I was one of the first ones. And I think if you look on TikTok now, there's too many to pick from, which is, incredible to see that the increase of young farmers getting on TikTok and on social media and producing what they do on the farm, because everyone's different, even I could have a sheep farmer down the road to me who has exactly the same sheep and exactly the same ground and farms in a completely different way. So, it's great to see the increase of people on social media, and also it's nice to steal ideas from other farmers.
Right, excellent. And so we've got a guy actually over in the States called Scott Perry, who is pretty big on TikTok himself. But he focuses on poultry.
Yeah.
And he definitely has his own take on how that works. And like you say, sometimes things just really connect with people. And I guess the thing with TikTok is it's a global thing. So you must have followers and supporters from all around the world, right?
All around the world, yeah. So the split is majority England and USA. I'm probably about
Yeah.
35% USA and England, and then a fairly high percentage in Australia. And then, the last 10 or so percent is all around the world, people all around the world. And it's really cool to, when we, me and Jesse do go to other countries, how many people have been like, oh my God, I know who you are, I know your TikTok. And it's like, oh my God, we are worldwide.
Amazing. And obviously, as you're saying, education plays a real part in what you do. Did you ever see yourself kind of doing that? You know, beyond TikTok now, I think you have that role in educating people of all ages in farming techniques, what it's like. It can be really difficult, a challenging place to be, but farmers tend to love being in that place and doing what they're doing. Obviously, your book is part of that. How important it is, do you think it is that we are educating people in farming techniques and just what that's about?
I think it's so important, you know. I think it's so important for everyone. I think the main why it is so important is because you are bringing non-farmers and farmers closer. I definitely do think, I think it is getting a little bit better, but I definitely do think you've got kind of like the farming community separate from everyone else. You know, I think it is the hard reality. It shouldn't be like that, but I do think it is like that. And with social media, you're almost crossing that, bringing the bridge closer together, you know, which is really, really nice. And it's a good way, I guess, for food producers as well to see and reflect on how farmers are actually feeling. I think without social media, it's really, really difficult. How do you make that connection? And I think social media has done it so well. And even with non-farmers, seeing the struggles that farmers face, you know, the economic pressures, the mental health issues, everything like that, it might make them think a little bit more when they go into a supermarket and they go, oh, this is British produced. I know it's a little bit more, but I saw a video an hour ago and, you know, I'm gonna support the British farmers sort of thing. So, you know, I think social media has done it so well, and it is just closing that gap between farmers and non-farmers.
Cool, super. Agricultural shows. Are you a fan? Have you been to many over the years?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I've been taking Jesse to all of them. You know, we've been to, I think, four or five this year. Yeah, love it.
Cool. So we're having difficult times at the moment, the poultry crew, because of bird flu. But when bird flu is done and dusted at some point in the future, we have amazing poultry marquees and normally agricultural shows. So I would say to you, definitely take Jesse into the poultry marquee. I go and say hello to the people that are in there. But there are, you know, just all sorts of different breeds and varieties of ducks, chickens, turkeys, geese, that you guys can fall in love with. But glad to hear that you love an agricultural show, as our readers do. How do you think we can encourage the next generation of farmers? So I know it can be challenging these days, particularly if you're not from a farming background, to get a tenant farm, but just to get enthralled in that way of life. But I know there are still lots of people going to agricultural college, where both of my parents, they both went to Sparsholt. So there's clearly that next generation wanting to come through. How do you think we can support them to do that?
I think it's not, this isn't a thing. I would love it to be a thing. I would love farming or agriculture to be taught in school just as a standard subject. I think that's so important to let the younger generation know, one, that it is a route that you can go down into, because to be quite honest with you, if I wasn't a farmer, my family weren't farmers, would I be a farmer? I couldn't tell you. I'd love to say yes because of how much I love it. But to be quite honest with you, I don't think I would be, because one, it's not spoken about in school. Two, it's not a careers option. You know, when you could go for careers days and things like that. I grew up on the farm and fell in love with the farm, you know, because I've been here my whole life sort of thing. So not knowing it's an option and not knowing, you know, it's something that you can go down is really, really difficult. So I would love to be in a position where, you know, students have to take it as a subject up until year 9. And that's more, you know, you're not learning to be a farmer. You're just more learning about the food production industry. You know, how does food and produce get from A to B, so from the farm to the supermarkets. I think that's so important because there's so many people that don't actually know where food comes from, that just go into the supermarket, buy it all packaged, bring it home, and then that's their interaction, you know. And to be quite honest, it's taken such a long time and such, you know, so many different things to get to that place. I think that's so important. And then obviously, if you don't want to carry it on as a full subject, then you don't have to. But, you know, everyone would get that information installed into them from a young age. So everyone in the country would then know it is an option, sort of thing. But like you said, you've got colleges, universities, apprenticeships, so many different routes that you can go down to. And my favorite one is to always say reach out. Like farmers are not, the majority are nice people. If you have someone reach out and go, hi, I would love to do a bit of free labor. We love free labor. Do you know what I mean? We'd love to do a bit of work experience on your farm, you know, because we do it, get people in, love to do a bit of work experience on your farm. It's a nice way of seeing how the farm works and seeing if it's something that you actually want to do. I'd say reaching out for me is one of the best things you can do, because you're not making that jump and committing 100% saying you go to college and university and things like that. But, you know, in a summer or a half term, I would love to do a couple of days or a week with you, just to learn and see if you like it, if you don't like it, it's something that you want to do. Sort of thing. And then obviously social media has played a massive part in letting people know, you know, it is an option to go into. And I guess it is changing the stigma of farming a little bit, because I don't know about you, but you'd think a farmer is an old man with his wellies covered in mud, you know, which isn't the case. It's not the case. You know, farming has changed so much, you know, with technology, innovations, different thing, like the farm's doing completely different things and everything like that. So, you know, social media has showcased that amazingly, and do you know what, it'll be really interesting, because TikTok and everything like that it's still really new. Whether that in 5 years or 10 years, you know, when that time comes, has it made a difference? Do you actually see a rise within kind of like the farming community and things like that? Because I think we are in a day and age at the moment where it's all a bit worrying. You know, I think the average age of a farmer within the UK is 59 years old. So that could be two different reasons. One, the older generation aren't letting go of the farmers and letting the young people in. Two, you just haven't got the young farmers. So, you know, the parents are just having to farm because the kids, you know, have gone elsewhere and they're going to earn, you know, probably more money realistically elsewhere. You know, I've got an older brother who's 27. He moved back to the farm at the start of the year when I went on Love Island, and he's now back full time. But, you know, he worked in London for 10 years, and it wasn't because he didn't love what he did on the farm. He absolutely loved it. You know, that's why he's come back to it. But it's just simply down to you will just earn more money and a more stable income elsewhere. And, you know, I think it's so important to try and change that stigma and do get farmers a fair price, because I guess if you look back in the day, the government paid farmers to sell produce. You got paid money, an extra little bit of money, if you did sell a fat lamb in the market or you did sell a chicken or something. But that's not the case now. The government are almost giving you money to corner up a piece of land and don't put any animals on it, which, you know, I think that's also really important, getting the backing from the government in the council and everything like that. And I think that's where it almost does need to start. Well, you need to be encouraged by your country to farm, not to not farm, sort of thing.
And I guess that comes back to that kind of, I always bang on about this, but food security. So we hear a lot about energy security, don't we? But we don't hear a lot about food security. And I think that second element is really important. Recognizing how important it is that food is grown here in the UK, because you never know what's around the corner, and that we might be completely reliant on food that's grown here rather than is grown, you know, elsewhere around the world.
100%. And, you know, I think everyone in the country is going to agree, you know, we would all hate to be in a place where the UK can't produce enough food to feed itself. It would be a very scary time. But I just can't get my head around how important food from overseas is cheaper than producing it in the UK. It just doesn't make sense. It's still, do you know what, the whole system it's almost backwards. You're almost set up to fail, you know, which is a real shame. And I think, especially within that point, there needs to be a change. There needs to be a clear path. But I guess with farming, you will never get that.
Well, we will try. We'll try for sure. So it's really important, I think, to have a hobby, something that you're interested in beyond your work and beyond your normal daily life. What would you say that is for you? I mean, is it just farming in general? Is it sheep? There's lots of different breeds and varieties of sheep. Is that something that interests you, or is it more the day-to-day graft of actually farming sheep, being a shepherd in effect?
Sorry, what was the question? My hobbies, or
hobby? Yeah.
Oh, my hobby would probably be social media, to be quite honest. Yeah.
Okay.
Like,
sure.
it's kind of like doing the work out on the farm and getting all that content, and then because it doesn't end there, then you have to come in the house, get all of the clips, and edit it down into something. So it is almost a hobby because you work all day on the farm, and then you come in and watch yourself work all day on the farm and cut it down into videos. So if you don't love it, then you shouldn't be doing it. So
it's a lot of work, isn't it? Like, I think people probably don't appreciate because how many videos would you say do you do one a day, or how does?
Yeah, I tried to do one a day.
Yeah, so that's a lot, isn't it? Really, on top of being out on the farm and stuff. Also, you make it fun, so I'm guessing that's why people connect with you.
Of course, yeah. They try and make it as fun and easy watching as possible. I think there's, it can be quite difficult for people, not necessarily just in farming community, all jobs, standing in front of you and using scientific terms that no one understands. You're not gonna, you're not gonna want to watch it. So it's just which is nice for me because I never went to college or uni or did anything like that. So all of my knowledge has come from my dad, who's come from his dad, sort of thing. So if you're talking about how intelligent of a farmer are you, I don't know about that one.
Six generations, is that right, on your farm?
Yeah. I'm 16. Yeah.
Well, I'm a big believer in skills. I did an apprenticeship rather than going to university, and you can learn a lot on the job. So totally.
I've learned so much on my farm, but do you know what? Within the last 6 months, where I've been able to travel and go on different farms, I've learned so much more. So much more. To be quite honest, it's because at the end of the day, my dad only knows what he knows. He hasn't worked on other farms, so he's not going to have outside information. He's just, very knowledgeable. We're very knowledgeable within our sheep. What's the best for our sheep? But as a whole, going to different farms, learning about different animals and how people do it differently, you're only going to gain more knowledge and steal ideas. I've done that plenty of times where I've gone to a farm and come back and I said to my dad, "Oh, they do it like this. Maybe we should," and steal the idea.
And TikTok was obviously part of your journey. And you were probably, how many followers did you have on TikTok when you then went on to Love Island?
I think I was on about 1 million.
Okay, so you're already pretty well known. In terms of opening that door, so you've got this book out, which is amazing. Came out earlier this week, last week. When was it released?
Last week.
Which is really exciting. Would you say it was a combination of TikTok and then going on Love Island that kind of helped to open those doors, or was it one versus the other?
So I actually wrote the book before going into the villa. So I was kind of like writing it in October, November time, just that long process. And then I got the call of, you're going into the villa. And I was like, with the whole team, I was like, oh my God, I'm going into the villa. We need to get this done, sort of thing. So the writing of the book was all complete apart from editing and a little bit of cleaning up to do with it before going into the villa. And then I got out one of the first things I did when I got out the villa was actually they sent me paper copy. I read through it, double checked it, all looked, made a couple of changes and things like that. And then it was like, right, time to get pictures for the book. So, within the week after leaving the villa, did all of the pictures for the book and everything like that. If you talk about
planning, you would have had a nice tan.
oh, look beautiful in the pictures. Yeah, look beautiful. Everyone would be like, how the hell has he got a tan? It's been raining. But yeah, I think with the book, I was fortunate enough, I guess, to go on to Love Island because your following does increase, to be quite honest, and you just put out to a wider audience. And I guess people probably would have bought my book because I went on the show, but they're non-farmers. They're going to be learning about the farm, which it's only a positive.
Yeah, definitely. Totally. And is there anything else you want to say about the book? Obviously, that's one of the reasons that you're here with us today. I know there's no poultry in it, but
Just sheep.
That's fine. But lots of our readers, to be fair, have various different animals. Some will be on sheep farms, some will be on other types of farms, and will have various different animals as well as their poultry. Why do you think they should go out and buy your book?
I don't necessarily think you need to have sheep or own sheep to buy the book. It's written in such a fun, easy way, and I'm always interested in what other farmers are doing, and I guess this is just my perception in the year of how we do farm, and it touches on real life aspects of farming, what's actually happened, the achievements within farming that we've had, goals that we've wanted to reach, that we've reached, and different things like that, but also the hard realities of farming. I talk about a dog attack which happened on the farm, which I guess happens to anyone, that it can happen to anyone who's got animals, sort of thing. And then the lows of farming as well. It touches on the mental health within the farming industry, getting the younger people and the younger generation into farming. So it's just, do you know what? It's a really fun, light-hearted read. You don't have to know about sheep or, even maybe like sheep to enjoy it, sort of thing. It's done very, very similar in the way of my TikTok, the way that I talk about farming, boys and girls, make it as easy and simple and fun as possible, while highlighting the real life aspects of farming as well.
Super, excellent. And I suppose lastly, we've got Christmas coming up. You're going to be looking to line Jessie's Christmas stocking, I'm sure. Do you think some poultry could find their way in there for her?
100%. Give me some tips and tricks, and I'll put it in.
Sure, okay. We will stay in touch, and we will sort you out with some ducks or chickens or geese or turkeys or something. I think Jessie would actually really like some of the breeds of poultry that there are about. So there you go.
Well, send me them. I'm always on the move to increase the animals on the farm.
Cool, amazing, super. Well, thank you very much, Will.